The Lions, led by fiery head coach Dan Campbell, were on the cusp of making history.
Jameer Gibbs running away from the defenders, and the Lions are back on top.
Mayfield looks, throws the ball over the middle.
Intercepted by the Lions! Intercepted by the Lions! Derek Barnes! Derek Barnes! Derek Barnes!
They had the San Francisco 49ers on the ropes in the NFC Championship game, up by 17 points at halftime, and Lions fans everywhere were dreaming of their first ever Super Bowl appearance. But then, in a cruel twist of fate, the 49ers mounted a furious comeback in the second half, scoring 27 unanswered points. The Lions offense, which had been so potent in the first half, suddenly couldn't move the ball. Their defense, which had stifled the 49ers early on, had no answers for Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey. As the final seconds ticked away, the reality set in. The Lions had blown their chance of getting to the Super Bowl, losing 34-31. The pain of that loss was palpable. Players were devastated, fans were heartbroken, and the city of Detroit was left wondering if they'd ever get another chance like that. But instead of letting that loss define them, the Lions used it as fuel for one of the most remarkable revenge tours in NFL history, at least thus far. The returning players came back with a fire under them. Guys like Jared Goff, Amon Ra St Brown, and Aiden Hutchinson, who unfortunately just suffered that devastating injury, weren't just playing football. They were on a mission to prove that the Lions weren't just a one-year wonder. They were determined to show the world that they could not only get back to the NFC Championship, but win it and go all the way to the Super Bowl. Fast forward to now, and the Lions are playing like a team that's possessed. They've stormed out to a 9-1 start, their best since 1956. But it's not just about the wins, it's how they're winning that's really turning heads across the league. Campbell's faith in Goff has paid off in spades. In a recent interview, Campbell compared Goff to none other than Drew Brees, saying, "I was fortunate to be around Drew Brees as a player and as a coach for a combination of 6 years. When you're around that type of player, it's rare to see the professionalism, the work that goes into it, the process, the competitiveness, and there's things about Goff that remind me of him." And this isn't just coach speak. Goff's play on the field is backing up Campbell's words. He's completed an astounding 80% of his passes over a 6-game stretch, a feat never accomplished before in NFL history. He isn't just managing games anymore, he's dominating them, and he's put the league on notice. But Goff's success isn't happening in a vacuum. The Lions offense, under the guidance of coordinator Ben Johnson, has become a juggernaut. 43 points per game over a 4-game stretch, the highest in franchise history. But here's the stat that's really blowing people's minds. Over the past 5 games, the Lions have scored more offensive touchdowns with 24 than they have incompletions with 20. That's not just good offense, that's rewriting the record books. And they have defenses in scramble mode. This is a team that everyone is dreading to face at this point in the season. A huge part of this offensive explosion is the connection between Goff and Amon Ra St Brown. These two have developed a chemistry that's reminiscent of some of the great QB wide receiver duos in team history. Obviously, he's not Megatron, I can't really give him that title, but St. Brown has become the fastest player in Lions history to reach 4,000 career receiving yards, doing it in just 57 games. So maybe he is. What's fascinating is that Goff and St. Brown's connection started long before they were teammates. Goff recalls hearing about him when he was still in high school. When I was in LA and he was in high school, it was him and the quarterback JT Daniels, and they were lighting the world on fire. And I remember hearing all sorts of stories about this high school kid who was unbelievable, Amon Ra St Brown. And I'm like, what's his name? How do you spell that? Now they're lighting up NFL defenses together. Goff didn't mince words when talking about his star receiver. He's the friendliest target I've ever thrown to, and I'm lucky to play with him. I hope to play with him for quite some time. He's a hard worker, he does everything right, I love him, he's great. But the Lions offense isn't just about the passing game. The backfield of Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery has really been giving defenses fits. Gibbs brings explosive speed and receiving ability, while Montgomery provides power running. I've talked about this duo so many times in the past, but the balanced attack keeps defenses guessing and opens up opportunities in both the run and also pass game. And now, for the area of this team that makes everything work, the offensive line has of course been solid. I mean, the line would have to be playing good for an offense to be putting up this much production. In the new power rankings, guess where they were ranked? That's right, they remained at number 1. Left tackle Taylor Decker was back in the lineup after missing Detroit's game against the Jags. However, he allowed 3 pressures, which was the most on the Lions offensive line, and he earned a 61.7 PFF pass blocking grade. But Kevin Zeitler continued his impressive season, earning a 90.3 8.6 PFF overall grade in Detroit's win. I really do think Detroit coming out with this much firepower on the offensive side of the ball has really elevated the defense, because when they are scoring nearly every drive, that just sparks an energy for the other unit to bring that same intensity, and we are seeing that happen. And the defense has been able to play a lot more free, knowing that if they make a big mistake, it usually won't be too costly. And then even when the offense has had an off day, which has been rare, the rest of the team has stepped up. Take the game against the Texans, for example. The Lions offense was struggling, down by 16 points. In years past, that would have been game over, but not this team. The defense locked it down in the second half, giving the offense time to find its rhythm and mount that comeback. What's truly special about this Lions team is how they've captured the imagination of Detroit. The city has always loved its Lions, but this feels different. There's a genuine belief that this team isn't just good, they're destined for greatness. And as we look ahead to the playoffs, it's hard not to get excited about what this Lions team could achieve. They're not just a feel-good story anymore. They're legitimate Super Bowl contenders. With an offense this explosive and a team this complete, they really are a force to be reckoned with. So yeah, the transformation of the Detroit Lions from heartbreak to dominance is more than just a comeback story. It's a football revelation happening right before our eyes. And for a city that's been waiting so long, it feels like their time has finally come. But obviously, there still is a long way to go. And I don't want to jinx anything, but the Lions aren't just playing good football, they're redefining it. And for fans who have endured decades of disappointment and just downright terrible football, this feels like the year where all that heartache might finally pay off. But even if it doesn't, the upcoming future is super bright. So eventually, one way or another, it will. But we all know there's only one thing that will officially cure the heartbreak, and that's Jared Goff hoisting up the Lombardi Trophy. Anyways, it really is a week-by-week process, and the next upcoming game will be against the Colts in a game they are heavily favored to win, but they still got to take care of business. Here is what some of the media has to say about this team.
So I've been saying for a long time now that I believe, well, 4 weeks at least, that I believe the Lions are far and away the best team in football. Bill, tell me that I am right, and I know coming up off a Jaguars win is not a time to say that the Lions are particularly impressive. However, they have beaten the hell out of a bunch of teams. They've done the find the way to win the bad game last week when their quarterback threw 5 interceptions. Their issues with their defense have seemed to have subsided. Their defense, despite the fact that they lost Hutch, their best pass rusher, they brought in Zadarius Smith to supplement that pass rush. And generally, the defense is good enough, and this offense is powered by their O-line, and it's quite impressive and pretty dominant. So they're the best team in football by far, and we should ignore the fact that they happen to wear one of the most cursed franchise uniforms in the history of professional football, and accept that it's a new version of the Lions, and they're the only team in football that week in, week out shows up and kicks their opponents.
That's really all I got for this video. Thank you all so much if you made it to this point, and if you enjoyed and haven't yet, please be sure to drop a like and subscribe, because your support truly does mean the world. And also, let me know what you would like to see next, and until then, I will see you all later.